Yo, today I want to talk to you about advancing your training. I've been talking a lot about conjugate training, how to get the most results out of your training. And right now I want to show you how you build into that to get the most possible out of your training. So what I'm talking about is a training hierarchy. Much like a real pyramid, a pyramid is only as tall as its base is wide. That's how you get to the peak of a pyramid. It's as tall as the base. Now, when it comes to training, the first thing you need is to master the basics. What this means is the standard exercises, understanding how to use different muscle groups, how to get in different positions, how to hinge with your hips, how to load your lats as opposed to pulling things in with your biceps, how to keep your core braced when you sit into a squat or a deadlift. This is the most significant period of training. And this is when typical training routines, things that aren't necessarily conjugate, are going to have the most effect. When I get somebody who isn't ready for a conjugate program, it's because they don't have enough basics, which is fine. But that's where I start with them, a much more typical style of training until they've mastered the basics. Can you use your biceps when you want to? Can you keep your abs tight? Do you know how to flex your lats? Can you support different positions? All that kind of stuff. Next, it's experimentation. You want to move into the experimentation phase. Do different grips, work your body more effectively. Are different positions more favorable to your personal leverages? Are you a sumo deadlifter, a conventional deadlifter? Do you get better results out of an overhand grip barbell row or an underhand grip barbell row? Do you get something out of a box squat, or are you better with a free squat or a pause squat? And there's a lot of things that can contribute to this that somebody like me could probably look at you and give you a general gauge. I have leverages more suitable for squat than deadlift. I get better results squatting more frequently and deadlifting less frequently. But that's me, and that depends on my training history, my leverages, all that kind of stuff. But this is where you start to try different things and see what you notice. And this only works because you've got the basics mastered. You know how the basics work, so you can play with some of the fun stuff. You know the expression, you've got to know the rules before you break the rules? It's that. Now, the two biggest problems I see with people training, number one is they start here first. They go on YouTube and they see some cool routines, or they find them on Instagram, or they take a conjugate type program. They take whatever program they've seen somebody really high up there do, and they go right into it. Not having enough basics for the experimentation, one, to work, and two, to mean anything. Now, the other problem I see is people stop here. They do the basics for a while, then they start doing all these different things. They're doing a different routine all the time. They're creating muscle confusion. And to be honest, most of the time, it's just that they're confused. But regardless, they get to here and they top out. What they need is the third level, which is consolidation. This is taking the basics, taking what you've learned through your experimentation, and finding out what works specifically for you the best. And then you start to build your training routine around it. To give you an example, with West Side barbell type training, on a max effort lower body day, deadlift, squat, and good morning, which would be the three main types of movement: tempo, load, range of motion. And you can do that for all three of these. And you can do this multiplying these by each other. So what I mean is you could do a deficit deadlift. So let's say between deficit deadlift, you've got a 1-inch, 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch. Now load, you can do straight bar weight. You can do a mix of bar and band resistance. You can do a mix of bar and chain resistance. You can do band, bar, and chain. So let's say that's 4 more. Now with tempo, you can do that for speed work. You can do it super slow. You can do it with a pause. You can do it with 2 pauses. You can not pause on the floor. So let's say that gives it another 4. And I don't even know how this math extrapolates out with just these couple examples. You can start to multiply these out and you end up with thousands of variations between squat, deadlift, and good morning for your lower body day. Now, these are all cool. There's a million different variations, but if you stay here experimenting, you're not going to come back to the same variation if you're rotating through all of them for a year, maybe more than that, to be honest, likely more than that. And that's if you're if you're doing a max effort lower body every single week and rotating every single week, it'll be years before you touch the same one. So you're not able to zero in and consolidate your training around the things that work best for you. I might do the best on variation 17, 28, and 106. Imagining we've got this long list of variations. You might be 12, 13, and 102. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. It's going to be dependent on you with all of these. But every single variable you work with in your training, once you've gotten the basics, once you've experimented, you've got to zero in on the things that work for you. With West Side Barbell, again, as the example, they've got hundreds, if not thousands, of max effort lower body movements. Typically, guys are going to find 4 to 6 that work the best for them and rotate through them. And they might experimentation out of boredom, out of seeing if something might work based on what they've learned in their consolidation, to try something new every once in a while, but they're not doing thousands of different types of movements, and you shouldn't be either. So if you want to advance in your training, if you want to build yourself the quickest, most efficiently, and most effectively that you can, spend time learning the basics, and spend a lot of time learning the basics. Really make sure you can work all the areas of your body and you maximize the progress you can make on the basics first. Next, you're going to experiment. You're going to try different things, different movements, different routines, different tempos, different loads, different everything. And then once you've done this for a while, you're going to start to get an idea of what you respond to the best, and how often you should do that particular thing to get the best results out of it. This is the magic. Once you've done all of this, you can zero in on the things that give you the best bang for your buck, and you can make faster progress as you get more advanced, which is supposed to be the opposite. This will stop you from getting that diminishing returns, because the experimentation lets you figure out what you need. So if you want to make the most progress in your training, this is the way to do it. Work up, make sure you get each level in order. And by the time you get here, you should know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what result you can expect. And once you've got that nailed down, the results are whatever you dream them up to be, and go chase.